Well, I've got lots of questions about the book. Before we get too far into it, it occurs to me that esteemed audience has probably not just read it, although they're probably pulling it up on the device that they're listening to us on and ordering their copy. Uh, could you give us kind of an overview of the novel and what they need to know to make this informed purchase?
Yes, without wanting to give away any of the twists. So um, it's a book set somewhere between the end of the Stone Age and the beginning of the Age of Metal. And it begins high up in the mountains in a village that is the only source of obsidian, black glass, in their entire land. And it starts the night before the men of the village are about to take their mules down to a giant trading city called Halfway, because it's halfway between everything in their land, to trade their season's worth of black glass for the supplies to get them through winter, which is really harsh up there. And we focus on the father of a 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl named Tellen Wren, who blinds himself, carving the last and most precious piece of black glass. And so, breaking all the rules of their very rule-bound village, the two children decide to take their father's load of black glass down to Halfway by themselves in order to get supplies for the season and get medicine for his eye. And that's against all the rules of their village. They risk expulsion, may not be allowed back. But down they go with their trusty mule Rumble. The journey down is incredibly dangerous. Many things happen, good and bad. And then they reach a city for which they are not equipped at all. Massive city, people from all over their land. They only know the route to the man who trades, the merchant who buys their black glass every season. And as they walk through the gates of this gigantic city, having had to shed their weapons, because there are no weapons allowed in the city, they walk into a coup. Not knowing what a coup is, they walk into a plot to take over the city. And basically, that's where I'm going to stop, because from then on, their world turns upside down. And they're incredibly tough because of where they live, incredibly resilient, very brave, very skilled teenagers who are up to the task of surviving this city and this coup. And that's where I'll stop. There's much else to know and to read, but I don't want to give anything else away, because then you won't turn the pages if you already know.
Well, I'll be careful with my questions because I have a very bad habit of getting excited and talking about things we shouldn't yet for readers who haven't enjoyed. But something that happens extremely early that just fascinated me is the father character. It's a very traumatic scene that opens this novel. He's only got one eye, and then he blinds himself. And we know that he's got 30 days before they're going to put him on an iceberg with some wine or some
On a
brand
glacier, they put him on a glacier with
glacier.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, iceberg wouldn't make sense that
big
high
takes up on the map. No. I mean, their existence is so precarious that if you get injured and don't heal within 30 days, you're taken out to the glacier above the village with a gourd of apricot brandy, and you sit with your friends and drink the brandy and fall asleep on the glacier and never wake up, and are slowly carried away. And so that is the sort of ticking clock of the whole story, is that Tell and Wren have to get back with medicine for their father before the 30 days is up. And so it's a harsh existence. This is, I think, a fairly dark book, A lot of bad things happen, but it's also about the resilience of these children and other people they meet of their own age, who are dragged into their adventure and who become great friends and allies and teachers, because Tel and Ren know nothing whatsoever about a city at all, and wouldn't survive a night without their new friends. So yeah, I'm hoping people are inspired by the courage and resilience of these kids. I certainly am. So, I have a 12-year-old son, so I want him to be resilient. I think our future is going to demand it. So, I'm hoping this models some of that for him. Not that he's read it, but he's about the only kid on the block who hasn't read it.
Well, it's going to, all of his friends are going to read it and talk to him about it. And eventually he's going to say, oh, what the heck, I'll sit down and I'll read this thing. And if you ask him about it, say it's fine, but probably you'll hear him talking to someone else and he will be as excited as they are.
Well, he says he only reads on his Kindle. So we're waiting for him to get it on his Kindle, even though I've just handed him a, first edition hardcover, and he's like, I can't read it in bed at night that way. So, which is where he does all his reading. So I don't care. He can read it any way he wants to, or not. So
something it's not a trick, it's a craft technique you pulled off that I want to tease out, is because you took me through a range of emotions very early. Because the father, I immediately pity him. Oh my God, you've lost your second eye. How are you going to survive in this world? And then you immediately take that pity that I have for him back because of the way he's treated the children's mother, because of some of the things he says to them, because of some of his outlook that's reflective of the values of the village. Like, oh no, I hate this man. But then immediately he sticks up for Tel. When he's dealing with a not so nice customer and helping him out, and you immediately win me back, and now I'm hoping that they're able to save him. It's just such a back and forth whiplash of how I feel about this character. How did you do it, and why?
Well, I mean, what happens? This is already a heightened circumstance, right? Up in this village, it's an extreme life. It's an extreme place. Extreme people and extreme life. And then what happens to this particular family is very dramatic and traumatic. And so I try to follow the, in the beginning, especially Tel's emotions through the trauma. They lose their mother 2 years previously. She goes down the mountain with the trading party and never comes back, and no one will talk about her, and people pretend she never existed. And as a result of her not coming back, the women of the village are no longer able to go down, which they resent and hate. I do explore some of the issues with patriarchy here without ever using words like that, but so I take you into a family that's had a lot of stuff happen to them in a short period of time, and it keeps getting worse. And so that's where those emotions come from, and that whipsaw comes from. And then Tel's idea, which is revolutionary in their context, to do it himself without permission, is sort of very liberating, I thought. And the fact that his father not only blesses him, but gives him the confidence to do it is, I thought, wonderful. That this man Tel has hated for 2 years because he thinks he's somehow responsible for their mother's disappearance. That shell cracks in time for us to feel they're leaving behind someone they love and want to save. And the only parent who's still available to them. So, so I don't know. I think it's dramatic and kind of emotional.
Well, and of course, compounded by just the not knowing as soon as they're asking what happened to mom. No, we're never talking about her again, and then that's it.
Right, right. She's an unperson in their village, which is awful. So I don't want to say anything more about that, though.
Well, of course, you're teasing a mystery that we're going to learn more about later, but
Yeah.
that's for the reader to discover.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm glad you saw the emotion or felt the emotion and the range of emotions, of intense emotion.
It was just such a very short. It was like within 3 chapters you did this. That I'm back and forth on this character. Like, I don't know how to feel.
Well, there's more to him in book 2. He's a crucial character, even though the entire story is told from the point of view of the children. Of course, he's crucial to them. And anyway, I don't want to say anymore because it gives away other things that are best discovered in the course of the story.